our next game, Pittsburgh taking on Notre Dame at home in a game, according to Pat Narduzzi, that is irrelevant. That showed on the field. Final score was 37-15 in favor of Notre Dame. I did not really tune into this game very much, to be honest with you. I figured it would kind of turn out like this. After what Pat Narduzzi was saying, it just it didn't sit well with me. I didn't like the feeling of, oh, this game doesn't matter. We're playing a top ranked team, but we don't really give a crap. So if they score 100 on us and we lose, it doesn't matter because it's not a conference game. That's such a ridiculous attitude to have about a football game where you're lining up, you're putting the ball down the hash marks, and your team's out there playing. You're playing for pride. I mean, you're playing to prove what you've been proving all season, and that's who you think you are and what you've been working so hard for. Why on earth would you go out and line it up against another team and say, nah, this game doesn't really matter that much? That bleeds into the locker room. You can't say something like that to the media and then go back to the locker room and say, all right, guys, put your pads on. Let's go play football. Even if you didn't mean it and you're like, guys, I was just saying that for publicity, just to put an emphasis on the fact that conference games should matter more. And the players are all like, oh, yeah, you're right. Well, this game still matters. Let's go play the same way. Well, you just went out in front of the entire country and said that this game doesn't matter to us. So how are we supposed to compute that in our heads and go out and play this game like it matters, like the world's like revolving around this game? In college football, on Saturdays, if you're an athlete that, and you know you're going to be playing, all you're thinking about, you're locking in, all you're thinking about is the game you're playing that day. And if your coach tells you this game doesn't matter, that doesn't sit well with me. I have a hard time thinking of being an athlete and my coach telling me, yeah, don't worry about this one. Even though we're playing one of the best teams in the country, doesn't matter. That's ridiculous. I'm always going to want to go out and compete to the best of my ability. I know those players felt the same way, but it's got to be confusing for them. So they show up and they do not show out in this game. Jeremiah Love goes for 167 and a touchdown. Huge pick six early in this game by Tay Johnson off of Mason Heinzel. He did not play his greatest game of the season. I don't think he had a pretty solid passing output at all. Throwing an interception and I think maybe one touchdown in this game. They didn't run the ball very well. They were 0 for 13 on third down. It's just a recipe for a loss against a team like Notre Dame every single time. Jeremiah Love had an insane touchdown run in this game. Put a guy in a blender with a spin cycle move. Absolutely elite. I think that vaulted him into legitimate Heisman conversation. Just the fact that's a Heisman play. Put that on a highlight reel. His stats don't really pop off the paper. I was comparing him to Kawan Lacey the other day. He's got better yards per carry and he's got more receiving yards, but he's got less touchdowns. And Kawan Lacey's nowhere to be found on any Heisman odds ever. So I think that's kind of odd considering Notre Dame's got two losses and Ole Miss has one. There's that much variance in those two players, but the kind of plays that Jeremiah Love is making are really impressive. So you got to give him credit where credit's due. I think that the over 13 on third downs was what stood out to me the most in this game. I mean, Pitt being the passing offense that they are, you can't go over 13 on third down. That means that you're passing the ball most likely on first, second, and third down if you're going over 13.
Yeah.
That's the kind of recipe where you're getting stuffed on first down and then you get into obvious passing situations and Notre Dame just tees off on you, which is in essence what happened in this football game. Notre Dame actually lost the turnover battle in this one and still handily won this. They actually had a really weird sequence of events where I think Pitt got a pick six on Notre Dame and then ended up having a 2 point conversion, I think, get housed on them. So really crazy stuff. Really weird turn of events. But at the end of the day, I think this Notre Dame football team has improved throughout the season, but their quality of opponents has not really been that great. So it's going to probably end up taking a home playoff game for them to prove what their worth is against a really solid team, like maybe in Oklahoma, or if they end up getting a rematch against Miami, which apparently the committee really wants Miami to make the playoff. We saw that today, so would love to see that. If Notre Dame ends up making the playoff, I would love for them to get a rematch with Miami. I think that would be best possible scenario for the playoff committee and honestly for the playoffs in general, because we wouldn't have to watch Georgia Tech or Virginia line up against anybody. So
For sure.
would love to see that. But Notre Dame takes care of business here. Not really much to be said. I don't really have anything else for this one unless you had anything, Landon.
I was gonna say that Pat Narduzzi's just an absolute weirdo. I'm gonna be honest.
He's a goober,
They
man.
had him on game day. He's just a weirdo. He's just I'm not even surprised that he said what he said after hearing him talk on there. He's just a strange dude.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just how college football is. It takes some strange dudes to wake up at 4:30 every morning and be like, okay, today and for the next 6 days of this week, I'm going to put 110% of my life into coaching football every day, where we try to figure out how we can advance a oval brown ball into the end zone with 11 dudes. Like, it takes a weird guy to commit their whole life to that. So you can give him a little slack, but he's definitely one of the weirder ones I've ever seen. And you look at guys with a lot of character like Mike Leach, who are pretty quirky and pretty bubbly as football coaches, but they know exactly what they're talking about. They're savants of the sport, and Pat Narduzzi may not be a savant, but I mean, he's been a great football coach for Pittsburgh over the past couple of years, despite how much of a goober he may be. Um, there are weird coaches out there. I think he's definitely one of them.